This video was recorded live before a canned studio audience. It's Friday Night Movie Reviews, and here they are, Chris and Keith.
Hi, I'm Keith.
I'm Chris.
And this is Friday Night Movie Reviews. Thank you for joining us tonight. We went and saw a movie, a new release, and this new release is something from old school. It's a continuation of some old school movies that came out, I think the last one probably came out when? Sometime in the 90s?
Yeah, the last one, yeah, I think so. It was in the midst of Leslie Nielsen doing all those others like Wrongfully Accused, Spy Hard, and all of them.
Right. So, in case you don't know, with the mention of
Leslie Nielsen,
we went and saw
The Naked Gun, the 2025 version.
Right.
And this could technically be considered, from what we learned from the Scream movies, this is a requel because it's a continuation, but it's also kind of a retread at the same time. Right. Where they show mentions of the legacy characters that existed, and now you've got the new characters. So it kind of falls into that requel territory, and that's why they were able to get away with calling it The Naked Gun.
Right. So if you really wanted to go and follow the pattern of the other Naked Gun movies, you had The Naked Gun, and then you had Naked Gun 2.5.
Yep.
And then Naked Gun 33 1/3. That was the third one. I guess if you really wanted to follow the pattern, this would be Naked Gun 44 1/4.
Yep, 44 1/4. So that's really the real title of this movie is 44 1/4.
Right, 44 1/4.
This is a type of movie that's pretty much has been dead for a long time now. The spoof movie.
Right.
It was refreshing when we saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, well, this is not a movie that they make anymore.
Right.
And the other surprising thing is you're like seeing Liam Neeson casted in the role. You're like, you mean the guy from Taken? You mean Qui-Gon Jinn? Like,
yeah.
Action movie every other release, he's reached that part of his career.
Right.
It was just kind of surprising. And then, Pamela Anderson, not so much. Like, it's nice to see her again because it seems like she was kind of a relic of the 90s. Right. And then she suddenly had a resurgence or whatever, I guess, since the documentary about her life with Tommy Lee came out.
Right.
It's interesting in that regard, where it's like suddenly all these throwback things that we enjoyed from the 80s and 90s are slowly starting to creep back in, and
and sometimes it's good and enjoyable kind of thing. In case you don't really know, the spoof movies are kind of like it's from an era where they would make fun of just about everything, not just movies and TV shows. They would make fun of things that were going on currently, like in the news or around the world. They would make fun of all kinds of stuff. They didn't hold back anything, and a lot of times they were very politically incorrect. So if you watch some of the older movies, but you have this tendency to kind of get offended and really have your feelings hurt about things, you don't want to go back and watch these movies because they will offend you.
That was kind of like the shocking part of this movie. This movie had things in it that were politically incorrect.
Right.
And I was like, really? In today's climate and everything else, they're going to make those jokes again?
Yeah, and you actually see one of them in the previews.
Yeah, and that was okay. That's bold.
That was kind of a deciding factor for us to go and see the movie. We're like, okay, yeah, they're still going to make those kinds of jokes in this day and age. Yeah, we're going to see it.
Yeah, because like you said, you don't see it anymore. Now, of course, this is a spoof movie about, obviously, like cops, detectives, that kind of thing, like the cop procedural type thing. And this all spins from, like we said, the original movies. And then there was also a TV show before that called Police Squad,
right,
that this came from. And then this is also it was originally made by the people who made Airplane. If you've seen that spoof movie about airplane disaster movies.
Right. Those movies are crazy. They and back during that era, they made all kinds of movies like that, with the cop movies, the airplane disaster movies, the spy movies. It was just, but this one, somebody different took the reins of this one.
Yeah, you had Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy fame. He's the executive producer on the film. Now, he didn't direct it or write it or anything. This was another comedy director that stepped in that did this one, and he put his stamp on it. And I have to say, though, I watched the original Naked Gun movie, and then, after I saw this one, just to kind of compare and contrast the two. And I have to say, stylistically, thematically, everything else, they're very similar. So it would just seems like it was a nice smooth transition, and you can't tell the difference between writers and directors.
Right.
So I will give them credit where credit's due on that one.
And in case you maybe didn't catch the name of Seth MacFarlane from those other projects, some of you may more recently know him from the Orville. He was heavily involved in that. Actually starred in it.
Yeah.
And the Orville is kind of when we had no Star Trek, it was as close to Star Trek as we were going to get at that time.
And still, to a degree, still not.
Yeah,
we still
don't
have it. Yeah,
kind of. So the basic premise of the movie is, it takes up where the other movies kind of leave off. The old school police squad they're dead and gone.
Yep.
And so now you have these new, you can't really call them new because they're a lot older, but you have this next group kind of taking the reins of the police squad, and they are the sons of the other guys. And you get that kind of early on in the movies, and you can see that in the previews. We're not really spoiling anything there. I will say this, though. I am going to spoil this. If you're expecting a spoof of Liam Neeson delivering his famous line, "I have a certain set of skills," you're going to be sorely disappointed like I was.
Yeah, they didn't jump on that chance. And I was figuring, because Seth MacFarlane produced this movie, that joke would be in there, and they just didn't do it. But aside from that, though, his deadpan delivery and taking the role seriously is what sold it.
Yeah,
because not once was he trying to be goofy. He was being as serious as he was being
serious through the whole film, and he was making some of the goofiest, driest jokes. And the thing is, a lot of the delivery of the lines and everything was so fast. This was one of those movies that you're going to have to see probably about 3 or 4 times just to catch everything that was said.
And the good thing about this movie is, just like the original, it's not a long movie.
No, it's not.
So that's another good thing. So if you're just wanting like a quick, less than 90-minute movie, this is the one for you. They finally did it again. We're finally getting back to the under 2-hour mark movies. And I was noticing that the runtime of this one is exactly the runtime of the first one. I don't know how they did that.
Wow.
They're both in exactly an hour and 25 minutes long.
That is hilarious. That is funny, and they probably did that on purpose too.
I think so.
A lot of these spoof movies are purpose driven, and that was probably in the plans. So back to the basic premise. These guys take the reins of police squad, and they uncover this dastardly plot to influence the whole world, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. Think of like Mission Impossible, but on a lot more goofy scale.
Yeah, with an exact plot device.
Right.
And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay, so this movie has language in it.
It does.
It has some language in it, and it has some
very risque jokes that you wouldn't want the little kids seeing.
Risque jokes and risque scenes that you really don't want the kids to watch, because
this one's much in the vein of the original.
Right.
Like it is.
It's not
like they don't show, like, there's no nudity as far as that goes, but there's a lot of implied
right.
things.
A lot of it is implied,
and there's a lot of jokes that are just kind of like, I mean, they'll go over the heads of kids for the most part, but they're definitely those type of jokes, adult jokes.
The word jokes may go over the kids' heads, but
the physical ones,
the scene,
and those were actually some of the funniest ones. In the movie.
Scene, it will not go over the kids' heads, and they will be asking questions.
Yeah.
So take your kids if you want some questions asked, or if you want to sit and feel really, really, really embarrassed when the scene comes along.
Yeah, so don't be fooled by like that PG-13 rating.
No.
This one's definitely not for kids.
No, it is not. I wouldn't even take a 13-year-old to see this one.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more, and I know that there obviously are desensitized 13-year-olds. If you've got one of the ones you're like, yeah, you've probably heard worse at school. You're probably right, unfortunately, because we all went to middle school. We know.
Yeah, but I don't know about seeing worse at school.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They have a lot more access to the internet than I ever did. Let's put it
but that I just can't get that one scene out of my head. When you see it, that
was the one that got the most reaction out of our theater. We actually had a good group of people in our theater where they were laughing at the jokes. Now, not all jokes hit. There were some jokes that kind of were lame and didn't land very well.
We're pretty dry.
They do have reoccurring running jokes that happen through it, just how all spoof movies usually do. It does give me hope, because we do have some more spoof movies coming out in the near future. We have got Spaceballs 2 coming, which will obviously be a requel. We will have there's going to be another scary movie made by the Wayans brothers, so that's coming. That's going to be another spoof movie.
Right.
So I wonder if this is the beginning, the resurgence of spoof movies. Now that maybe the climate is changing and everything, and people maybe are becoming less sensitive to material again.
We can only hope.
I mean, I don't know, the TikTok generation of the world. It's kind of like,
right.
All right.
Right.
And if they could even sit through a 90-minute movie, we're making, that's a hard assumption there.
Yeah. So, do not take your kids to see this movie if you saw the older movies and anything like Airplane. I mean, the original Airplane was pretty risque
I know.
And it has some pretty bold scenes for its time.
I had 80s parents, so I totally saw that movie probably when I shouldn't have.
So if you do not I'm just going to throw it out there. Do not take your kids to see this movie. I would not even take I wouldn't even take a teenager to see this movie. I mean, it'd have to be 18 or above before I took. I would have been embarrassed sitting with my 20-year-old son in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of questionable. It says PG-13, but definitely nobody younger than 13 for sure. Because, like I said, there's this one scene that'll have the adults laughing, but then you'll have your children asking a lot of questions afterwards.
Right.
And this is a gag.
What are they doing?
And this is a gag that's been done in a lot of spoof movies, very similar, like Austin Powers. Robin Hood Men in Tights did this exact same thing. So if you're probably already getting an idea of what I'm talking about.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
They did it. That's right. Yeah. So if you're a movie aficionado like we are, then you'll probably know what this scene is without us even spoiling it. You're like, oh, you guys done and spoiled it, because they already know what kind of scene this is.
But I mean, you have to see it to get the whole thing, because it's not just one thing, and it's not just a one and done kind of thing. It goes on.
It's about a 10-minute scene. Yeah,
it is.
And I mean, that was probably the hardest I laughed during the movie.
Yeah, it was definitely a laugh jerker. That's for sure.
Now, we've mentioned obviously the two stars. There are other people in the movie. There was the guy that was from Cobra Kai that played Stingray. He's supposed to be his partner. Surprisingly, he's not in it a whole lot, not till like almost the very end.
Right.
He had a funny scene at the I guess the final act of the movie.
Right.
But I would have liked to have seen him a little bit more, because he was funny in Cobra Kai. So I was expecting more of that.
Right.
I'm trying to think. The bad guy, standard bad guy that you've seen in any movie. It was just kind of like that. There wasn't anything real special about him that made me really, really laugh. Uh, it was just, it reminded me too that in the original one, Ricardo Montalban was the bad guy in the
Oh my
original.
gosh, yes.
Yes, and it was
Yes, he
like,
was.
and
Yeah.
there are cameos in this movie that they don't reveal in the trailer. So
Right.
so if you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get to see anybody from the original Naked Gun without spoiling who's still alive from that original cast. If you've seen the original one, you can rebrush up on it because I had forgotten that this particular singer was in the original one too that they made a joke about.
Oh yeah.
Yep, and he's
Yeah.
in this particular. Oh, sorry, I said he. Whoops,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
But you don't know
They.
who I'm talking about. Yep.
But yeah, it's got all kinds of different elements for all kinds of different people in it, and that's what these spoof movies are all about.
Yeah.
Is in basically insulting everybody and making everybody laugh at everybody. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and well, like I said, we had all kinds of different people in our theater, and we
Right.
were all laughing together, and
Everybody was laughing at everything, and everybody was having a good time. It was really good, and like Chris said, there were some instances where there were some pretty big guffaws
yeah,
from everybody in the audience. So it wasn't just a kind of just chuckles here and there. It was some really good laughs, some really good laughs. So what did you think about the movie, Chris?
I liked it. I didn't have any issue with it. It's one that I'm definitely going to have to buy, rewatch. It'll probably be on Paramount Plus in about 3.5 months, give or take. It was consistent with the other three movies that came before it, even though it's made by different people. So I like that. It felt like a spoof movie.
It did.
It was a return to form, which Pamela Anderson was funnier than I would have ever expected because,
Yeah.
you got used to her just kind of being like that 90s blonde bombshell, but no, she's actually funny. Like, and she
Right.
had good chemistry with Liam Neeson, believe it or not.
Yeah, she did.
I'm like, wait, you can kind of act? Like, I didn't know that.
I just thought you ran on a beach with a surfboard.
Yeah, and kind of held tools and Home Improvement. Like that's
Right.
that was not what I was expecting at all.
Right, right.
So I thought they did a great job. Overall, just it was a good movie, a good time. Whenever I say I'm going to buy something, so that clearly will tell you that I like the movie if I'm willing to buy it, because with the rising prices of everything these days, that's a big thing. Saying,
It
hey,
is.
hey, I'm going to buy this.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think you should. I don't think you should sit on this movie, especially if you're part of Gen X or elder millennials. Go see this movie because you grew up with it. I totally recommend it as far as that goes. And really, the only thing, I don't really have anything other than negative to say about it, other than the fact that I felt like some other characters that they put in the movie could have shined a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Liam Neeson really held this movie together.
Yeah, he did.
And wow, put
He
him in more comedies. Like, he's actually pretty
Right.
good.
Yeah. And I have to agree. I enjoyed the movie as well. There were a couple of spots that, like I've said about other movies in our reviews, there were a couple of spots that were kind of dry.
Yeah.
There were a couple of jokes that either I didn't get right at the moment, or they just didn't hit right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what that was about. Maybe it was, I don't think it was delivery. I think it was just the joke itself just wasn't that funny. So there were some things like that were supposed to be funny, but they just kind of was. I guess if you've seen a lot of the spoof movies like we have, you come to expect that kind of thing, and when they do it again, you're just kind of like, yeah, you've done that before. So I mean, there was that kind of thing. But overall, this was, to me, this was a good, fun summer movie. I laughed at it. I thought it was good. It had a good storyline.
Yeah.
I did like Liam Neeson, and I liked the fact, like you brought up, that his character was just so stone cold serious throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, just deadpan delivery.
Just so serious. I mean, the way Leslie Nielsen did it, his character was goofy, and you kind of had this idea that his character was dumb and knew that he was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what made it funny, was that he was dumb but he knew he was. In this one, he's kind of like dumb but he don't know it.
Yeah.
I felt kind of like I got kind of like an Inspector Gadget vibe from it.
Very, very much so, or Inspector Clouseau, that kind of thing.
Right, where he's just so serious and he knows what he's doing, but he's just goofy about it.
Yeah,
and borderline dumb about it too. So yeah, it was a good, funny movie. Like I said, some of the jokes didn't really go over too well, but it was good and it was fun. If I was to give this movie a rating, I would probably give this movie about 7 out of 10 popcorns.
Wow, yeah, you kind of nailed that one. I was gonna say 7 Pepsis. Like I said, it doesn't surpass the original, but it's still good and consistent. But yeah, those dry parts that you talked about, and some of those jokes that just did not land for whatever reason.
Right.
I couldn't give it anything higher than that, but still 7. If you get to a 7, it's still worth buying.
Right.
And I think after a few more watches, I may appreciate that my rating may go up or down. So anytime, just as a word of caution, when you're watching our videos, this is just kind of what our rating is at the moment. We could watch this and have a totally different rating later on. And typically, when I watch movies, I don't usually do a rating. We wanted to do that for the show. But right now, 7's good.
Right. Like he brought out, after a couple of watches with this, I'll probably be, oh, that's why I didn't get it. Or, you know what? I didn't catch that the first time around. That's really funny. It might be something like that. And so, like he said, like Chris said, the rating may change, and that's very, very possible because, like I said, this is a movie that you're probably gonna have to watch 3, maybe 4 times to actually catch most of the jokes in it because they're so subtle.
Yeah.
And they're so fast, and the lines are delivered so quickly and so disguised in the conversation that you may not catch it. And that's just the way these movies are, though.
Yeah, spoof movies are like layers of an onion. You just keep peeling back the layers.
Yeah.
And I always say, too, with ratings, there's movies I watched when I was younger that I held in higher regard. You watch as an adult and like, it's not as good as as I thought about when I was like 8 years old,
I thought that was good. Why?
Yeah, and so that's why I say just kind of take our rating with a grain of salt. But the question we need to ask, though, is this cash or is it,
is it worth the cash or is it trash?
Yep.
I would definitely say this movie is definitely worth the cash, because if anything, it will drag a laugh out of you.
Yeah, this one did. I mean, I almost had tears coming out of my eyes during that one scene. Like it was funny. Even though I've seen that joke before, it's still funny every time I see it. Like especially if it's done right. And this one is, and you'll see when you see the movie.
So just think about this. If you are a 12-year-old boy at heart, you're probably gonna like this movie. Yeah. You'll probably laugh because it really appeals to the 12-year-old boy in every man.
It's funny to watch some of the credits in it. There's no end credit scene, just to kind of throw that out there, so in case you don't want to wait till the end.
Well, there is, but it's not really worth seeing.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, really, like, you're not missing anything if you just want to get up and go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like he said, read through some of the credits because some of the credits are borderline Monty Python.
Yeah, and in the original, and I checked, and the original did do that too.
Because they'll hide things in the credits, like goofy names or something like that. So just read through those because those are funny as well. It's a good and fun movie, and we really enjoyed it. Well, hey, you know what? There is our cue to go.
Yep. Remember to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification for when our next video drops. Leave us a comment. What did you think of the 2025 version of The Naked Gun? We'd like to hear what you have to say. And as always, thank you for watching.
The Naked Gun 44 1/4. Listen, you're going to have fun watching this movie. if you go and see it. And I would recommend that you do, because it is a fun one to watch. If you're a fan of spoof movies, then it's something that you really need to give your time to, because we want to support these kind of things and let Hollywood know this is the kind of stuff that we want to see. This is the kind of stuff we want to watch. Listen, gather up some friends, gather up your family, not your kids. Don't take your kids to see this one, seriously. But get some family and friends together. You guys jump in the station wagon or the Volkswagen or whatever wagon you're going to jump into, and head out to the theater. Grab you some popcorn, grab a soda, and when you watch it, enjoy your movie.